All right, guys. Iowa State, Kansas State, and Kansas all played today. And it was an eye opener for me as to how the Big 12 is going to shake out and where Colorado actually stands in this group right now. Not only that, but I think I'm also taking away quite a bit from the Iowa State Kansas State game today on what Colorado can do this year to really stand out. And this actually has something to do with the last two seasons. Also, we're going to talk about Shedeur Sanders' last and final preseason game with the Cleveland Browns this year and how he fared. And I know a lot of you have seen that, and there's going to be a lot of comments. Let's talk about it right now on Alpine Garage Sports. All right. So we just finished the Iowa State Kansas State game just a few hours ago, right? And for those of you who watched it, it was a messy game. It was a super messy game, a thrilling game nonetheless. But you just know that now there's this kind of aura around the Ireland games, especially on the season week 0, where the teams that go out there look like they're unprepared. The weather is nasty. It's wet. I don't know, jet lag. I have no idea. I've never been there, but I can only imagine what these teams have to go through. And they looked super, super, super sloppy for the first half. In fact, by the time the first half ended, which we won't talk about the first half, other than to say that each team had 2 turnovers and it was a 7-7 tie. So we start basically over after halftime, and that's when it got interesting. The third quarter, you could start seeing the wheels turning for both teams, and each one of them defined themselves in that game. And to me, that's really where this game stood out, is how each team made those adjustments for the second half, and how CU can see that, and every other team for that matter can see those changes that they made, and maybe look at that for the future, especially when we're playing both teams, which we do. We play Iowa State on October 11th at home, and that one's going to be a big game. And we'll break that down later. But Iowa State to me was the kind of king of the Big 12 coming into this season. I like Kansas State, but at the same time, I don't put as much credit to them as I do Iowa State. But I think those two of the top teams, obviously, in this conference. But Iowa State came in here number 22. Kansas State came in number 17. I could not feel Kansas State. I couldn't feel them going into this game. So I put all of my money on the money line for ISU, just due to the fact that I just really felt like they had something that Kansas State didn't have. And that one thing was the running game. And you think that's odd because Kansas State is, kind of known to have a really solid running game. But for some reason, I just felt like it wasn't going to happen. I feel like Avery Johnson was going to try to do too much on his own. And that's, because he's like the superhero of that team, which is where I'm leading to on this, actually. I'm going to say it just because I feel it. And that's what I do on this channel. But Kansas State in this game kind of felt a lot like Colorado back in 2023. And what I mean by that is the entire team was held up by their quarterback, and their quarterback played super awesome. I mean, Avery Johnson did an extremely good job. I want to say he had 280 yards in this game. And to kind of give you an idea, Rocco Becht had 183 yards, right? They won the game, but he only had 103. He had 100 yards less than Avery Johnson did, and they won the game. And the key to Iowa State's winning this game is what I wanted to take away as something that we can learn from Colorado, and something that we've been talking about on this channel. I'm almost positive that you've heard about it on every other channel that knows football. But it's time of possession. Kansas State is going to be, they're going to win their games on big plays. And that's what Avery Johnson did. They had several big 50-yard plus plays that got them instant touchdowns. In fact, there were a couple of series where they scored touchdowns, back-to-back series, I think. It was back-to-back, or it was close to back-to-back. But they took almost no time off the clock. They literally, Avery Johnson just winged it and bang, touchdown, which is great. Points on the board. We talked about this last year. We talked about it in 2023. I love scoring fast, right? We want to get points on the board. The problem is you give the ball right back to Iowa State, right? And so that's kind of where I'm leading to this, is that Iowa State did something in this game that looked somewhat ugly, right? But at the same time, they know what they need to do to win this game. And so that said, I think Colorado and every other team really in the Big 12 can take away the fact that all you have to do, I said not all you have to do, but one of the major things that you have to do in this conference in order to win these games is control the clock. The major stat line in this is actually, to me, is Iowa State had over 33 minutes of time possession. Kansas State had barely 26. That is, that's an entire possession or two possessions, depending on what kind of possession you're talking about, that Iowa State had over Kansas State, and they won by 3 points. So that tells you right there that tells me that that's what won the game for them, right? They also were really good about just basically running the ball and chewing up the clock. They didn't run for a lot of yards. I want to say their best rusher for Iowa State averaged 4.4 yards, right? We talk about our running backs last year running 4.4 yards per carry, and we thought that was terrible. We don't want that, right? We want over 5 yards a carry, and there's nothing wrong with that. But the problem that we had was we were running, sometimes 3.5 to 4 yards per carry, but then we were getting discouraged with that, and we're going right back to the pass. And in some cases, Shedeur was able to pull out a win. And in some cases, we weren't able to do that because time possession was not in our favor. So when I'm looking at this Iowa State game, that's what I'm looking at, is I'm looking at what did Iowa State do to win this game? Were they super sexy? Was Rocco Becht just the best quarterback in the Big 12? Was their running game stellar? Was their defense stellar? I'm going to say no to all of those things. They were lackluster at best, and they did show great signs, and I thought it was a well-coached game for Iowa State. But walking away from that, I think they're totally beatable. Like, Iowa State is totally beatable. I think we can beat Iowa State. I'm more confident about that right now than I was going into this game today. Kansas State, same thing. Avery Johnson is a scary dude, man. He's a lot like Shadeur in the fact that he's got big play mentality. But it seemed going into this game that their game plan fell completely apart when their running game fell flat. Their running game was terrible. Their running game was horrible. Like, I don't even think they hit 4 yards to carry. And then, they gave it to Avery, and Avery just basically said, hey, Avery, win this game for us. And the problem is they ran out of possessions. If they had one more possession, Kansas State could have won this game, but they didn't, because Iowa State dominated time of possession, didn't give them the opportunity to do that. Keep it away from Avery. Keep it away from Avery. That's what we have to do as a football team, is we have to play keep away. It's not always about the big fast strike and who am I trying to think of here? The Texas Tech style football, which is basically outscore your opponent and don't really worry about time of possession. We may be able to do that with the way our team is set up this year, because we have a lot of weapons, including our quarterback as a dual threat weapon this year as well. I just still think that time possession is where it's at. So I wanted to talk about that ISU KSU game, just due to the fact that I think there's a lot into that game that we can take away from and say, hey, we have an offense now built to be able to do exactly the same thing. We can grind this game down to a halt if we need to. 4 yards in a cloud of dust, screens, small plays to kind of eat clock, keep from going out of bounds, keep the ball away from the opponent, but at the same time, end every possession with some sort of points, 3 points, 7 points, whatever it is that we have to do to come out with some kind of points on every possession, but slow it down to the point where we're not just trying to kill it with big plays all the time. I think we're going to be super successful this year because of the way the offense is built. My final takeaway is I think both these teams are vulnerable. I mean, number 22 versus number 17 after this game, they're probably going to flip. Iowa State may be, top 18, top 20. Kansas State's probably going to stay in the top 25, I think. But obviously in the 20s because of that loss and the fact that they didn't look good and Iowa State did not look good. We can beat both, and we will beat both. And that's really what this comes down to. I feel super, super comfortable with this. Now, on to the next, which is Shedeur's last final preseason game with the Cleveland Browns this year. He was third man up. So you had Flacco come in. Flacco looked really good. Flacco looked like Flacco does. I think he was 9 of 10 for like 70 yards, right? So he averaged a little over 7 yards per throw. And the offense looked great. Their first team offense was in there. The running game looked great. The tight end, what is his name? Fannin, he looked great. And of course they would in the first team. And I think Cleveland is going to have a really, really good offense this year. I really do. I don't know how long Flacco's going to be in there, but I think they will. But what I noticed more than anything in this game is that Cleveland's defense, we knew it was good, but they're absolutely diabolical. Like when I'm looking at this, even with their second, third string players, they were still out there just absolutely murdering the Rams, just absolutely killing them. And this is where the bread and butter for Cleveland is going to be. And it has been in the past, but this year, I think especially. And I think that's going to help them carry the offense. And honestly, at this point, looking at them going into the season with Shedeur and Gabriel and Flacco in there, and the running backs that they have that, they're not fully up to speed yet, but they're getting close. I honestly think that this team could easily be a 500 team. I think they could. And, could they go to a playoffs? Absolutely. I feel really strong about it. And, I am not a Browns fan. I don't know that I've ever actually said anything positive about the Browns in my life. So the fact that I feel good about them and I want to watch them, whether Shedeur's playing or not, I'm appreciative of that. Cause like I would have given any stock in the Browns this year if Shedeur hadn't been playing with them. And now after watching them, I really like the team. So I think this is going to be a lot of fun, but let's get back to Shedeur. So, Gabriel came in second and looked good. Gabriel looked good. And, I don't hate Gabriel. I'm an OU fan as well. And of course, Gabriel played for OU and he did a really great job for OU. I don't think he's the same quarterback that Shedeur is. I think he's a good quarterback. He could probably lead a team, but I just don't think he's going to be as successful in the league as Shedeur is going to be for a lot of reasons. He's accurate. He's shifty in the pocket. He can kind of make plays happen. His release is probably some of the fastest I think I've ever seen in a quarterback. But there's just something out there, and I think every one of us feels it, that he's just when the going gets tough, he's just not going to be able to pull it through. Whereas I think Shedeur is. The problem is Shedeur is put into this game, third, basically. He was the third quarterback in line, and it just looked like everything completely fell apart for him. And I don't mean that he fell apart. I mean, like the offensive line looked like our 2023 offensive line at the University of Colorado. Like every single play, the edges were in the backfield and Shedeur's running for his life. They did a lot of man that I saw. I mean, they were playing zone too, but Shedeur could just not get the reads done because he had giant men in his face the entire time. It was ridiculous, honestly, how bad the offensive line was for Shedeur. And, you think to yourself, so, you're a great quarterback and you're going against third team defense for the Rams. I should be able to just pick them apart. The problem is you got to have time to do that. And apparently the Browns, like third string offensive line specifically, is just terrible and not anything that, that he's going to be able to do anything with. And I really feel bad for him. I feel bad that was the last opportunity for us to see him in the preseason because I don't think he was given a fair shake. So, that said, I sound like I'm making excuses for Shedeur. He was sacked 5 times. That sounds very reminiscent of 2023 with Colorado. All of the symptoms that we saw today of the poor play that happened for the entire Cleveland offense I think was 100% put on the fact that they just didn't set him up very well for success. And that's on Cleveland. I think Cleveland knows that. And I think looking at what Shedeur was able to do with first and second teamers in his lone start that he had at the beginning of the preseason, I think that stands on its own as his body of work. I honestly think other teams are going to see that, and they're going to see if you can give him, just like any quarterback, if you can give him the best receivers, the best offensive line, the best running backs, the best schemes, they're going to be successful. And I think Shedeur is that guy. He can run those offenses, and I think he can run them extremely well. I thought he ran them better than Gabriel did when Gabriel had his lone start. What was it, 2 weeks ago? So that said, I don't put anything into this last preseason game for Shedeur. I almost felt like going into it, I didn't even want to watch it because it just seemed like it was just they were just going to throw him out there, and he was going to be left on his own to handle things like he was in 2023 in a lot of the games at CU. So, that said, it is what it is. Preseason's over now. We're going to see how the Browns handle this going forward. But I just want to throw this out there. Now that I am a quote unquote Browns fan, just because anytime I watch a team go from completely crappy to possibly pretty good, I'm always going to be like watching them. Like I want to watch. I want to watch their team. I want to see how things happen. Whether Shedeur plays or not, I think I will be. But I want Shedeur to go somewhere else. I want Shedeur to go somewhere where he can at least get an opportunity to play this year. And I'm not saying that he won't for the Browns. It just doesn't seem as likely with the Browns as it does maybe for some other teams. Now, will the Browns, trade him? I don't think so. I think they're going to hold on to him. And, whether they decide to trade him later on or not, I don't think they're going to trade him early. And honestly, I think he's going to be with the Browns this season. And I hope he doesn't sit on the bench too much. But man, I don't know. This is just the way that this thing is shaking out. It just doesn't look like the Browns have the confidence in him that the rest of us do for whatever reason. So take that with a grain of salt. I don't know exactly how you guys feel about it, but that's how I feel about it anyway. Now, last but not least, Kansas played today. And I didn't see the final, but when I walked away from it to do this video, it was like 24-3 or 24-10 or something like that. And they look really good. Kansas could be even better this year than I thought they were. When I'm saying that Iowa State and Kansas State maybe stepped down a little bit from what I thought they were going to be. Kansas could be the real deal again this year. They took a year off last year, it seems like. They could be the 2023 Kansas Jayhawks. So, we don't have to worry about it too much until the end of the season, whether or not they're going to be in the Big 12 championship running or not. But it's definitely something for us to keep eyes on. And I think they look really, really good. So let's get to a couple of comments here. Roberto says, Beck didn't look comfortable passing as well as Avery Johnson. You're right. Beck had 183 yards. He was, I think, barely over 50% passing. And Avery Johnson was almost 300 yards. I think it was like 280, 283, 285, something like that. Much better completion percentage. And he had some big plays. Like he was passing, he was blowing them up like Shadeur does, just big, taking advantage of the defense. The problem is they had no running game, and they weren't sticking to the running game. They weren't even trying the running game. Iowa State did not have a running game either, but they stuck with it, and they stuck with it, and they stuck with it. And there was a 1 or 2 fourth downs that they had to go for it because their running game was so poor that they couldn't even get, 4 or 5 yards on a 3rd and 5. They ended up having to do a 4th and 3 and really good play calling screen to get like their running back, even though I can't even remember his name, Iowa State's running back, Hayden, I can't remember now. Anyway, he was very Scadaboo-esque today, is what I'll say. He wasn't absolutely killing it. He wasn't just tonning the yards, but when it came down to it and they needed him, he did what he had to do to get them the extra yardage. And so I think that's the player of the game right there, is Iowa State's running back. And I'll tag him down in the comments so that you guys can have his name if you haven't already seen it. But I think he absolutely won that like Scadaboo from Iowa or from Arizona State last year. He is a guy that when we play Iowa State on October 11th, I'll be looking for as a key player for Iowa State that we have to neutralize. They're gonna, after this game, they're gonna figure out ways to use him even more than they did this game, because Rocco just didn't look like he did last year. He didn't look like he did in the past. So yeah, thank you for that, Roberto. And Extreme Sports says they set up Shedeur to look bad, and the threes. I know it's man. I'm not a guy that believes in conspiracy theories. Like, I just don't believe in it. This life is too weird on its own to think that there's something underlying here. And all that news that just came out about who was it? It was um, who's that running back? It just came out with some news that said that he has proof, or he heard it from an NFL insider, that there actually was some Shedeur shade that was thrown around by the league before the draft. Do I believe it? I don't know. He's a believable guy. But it's just, there's 32 teams all trying to win a Super Bowl. And I don't know that, collusion is something that, if I was the owner of a team, I don't know that I would necessarily need to collude with somebody. If I thought that a player was going to be the player that's going to take us to the Super Bowl, or become a dynasty, a dynasty for us as a player, I would absolutely pick him up and say, you know what? I would probably tell him, yeah, you know what? I'm with you. And then when it comes to the draft, I'm going to draft him, which is maybe what Cleveland did. I don't know. But they're certainly not showing it right now. So when you say Extreme Sports, when you say they set him up, I 100% agree with you. I think, and I don't think it was necessarily intentional. It could be intentional. It might not be intentional. But anytime you stick a quality person like Shedeur third in the depth chart with apparently a trash front line, and almost like put him in the same situation he was at in Colorado, seems like they were trying to see if he could do it again. I don't know. I have no idea what's going on, but if you're going to do that, give him an entire game to do that. Don't give him, what did he have? 5 series to do that. They gave him 5 series to do that. And that's not enough time. I mean, it's just ridiculous. And honestly, this game wasn't the game I think they're looking at going, hey, we're going to definitely find our top 3 here and we're going to put them in order. I think they were just trying to get people out there and get them reps, and then they're going to walk away, and whatever happened. And I don't think they're going to be sitting there tonight over beer saying, oh yeah, Gabriel made Shedeur look like he didn't know how to play football. They're not saying that. I'll tell you right now, they're not saying that. It came down to, they knew what they put Shedeur into. They kind of knew what the outcome was going to be, and the outcome was what it was designed to be, essentially. And the problem is that Shedeur doesn't look very good in it. But I can tell you, in this channel, I don't care. That didn't show me anything. It didn't prove anything. It didn't disprove anything. I know Shedeur is the best quarterback on that roster. Don't get me wrong. I think Flacco is a great quarterback. But just like everybody else says, I don't know that he's sturdy for the amount of games that he's going to be playing this year. And Shedeur has an opportunity to come in there and take it away. It just, for whatever reason, they're just not letting go of this Gabriel thing. So anyway, who else is in here today? Northside's in here. Alto killed tonight at Sam Houston. I did not see that, but thank you. I was looking at Alto's Instagram the other day, and I thought, I need to check and see when he plays so I can watch the game. So I will definitely watch that. But yeah, I'm a big Alto fan. I wish he had stayed with us, but I know how things go, and we ended up picking up some good running backs this year that I think could really make really kind of challenge our past running ability, give us more of like an Iowa State feel from today. And I hate to say that because they sucked at the run, but they stuck to it. They stuck to it. That's the coaching that we're talking about. Is, you know what, we suck at the run, but I don't want to give it back to Avery Johnson. No matter how bad our run is, I do not want to give it back to Avery Johnson. So we're going to do whatever we have to do to bleed this clock out and walk away from whatever it is, Aer Lingus Stadium or whatever it is that they played in, and go down to the local tavern and have 2 or 3 Guinness after the game. Whatever it takes for us to do that and celebrate is what we're going to have to do, and we're going to have to scrap, and that's what ISU did. Well, guys, that's all I've got for you tonight. I don't want to drag this on anymore, but I appreciate everyone that came into the chat today. Please leave a comment and let me know what you think about the Iowa State-Kansas State game, how that looks for the Big 12, how Colorado now looks compared to them, right? Kansas looked pretty good tonight. So we're going to see how that shakes out. And then, is Shedeur going to get hosed this year? Where should he go? Trade Shedeur, get him out of Cleveland. Trade Shedeur, where should he go? I mean, this is the whole Jackson Dart thing. Did you guys watch the Giants game? The other, what was it? Friday? Thursday. It was Thursday night. The Giants quarterbacks that game look like the four biggest studs. I mean, I say four. Whatever his face didn't even play their starter, and whoever it was that played for Denver. Why can't I think of his name? Anyway, I don't care about him. But Jackson Dart, who I'm a big Jackson Dart fan. I think him and Shedeur are the top two quarterbacks coming out of the draft this year. Just absolutely smoked it. And then the other two quarterbacks that they had were just as good. I mean, came out through a touchdown immediately. Who was that from Florida State? Dang, man, I can't remember his name today. Anyway, what I'm saying is it looked like a fun game for them. They had a good time. And the quarterbacks are just dominating. Their defense looks huge. Giants are going to be good this year. Giants are going to be really, really good this year. But there's a huge high for Jackson Dart right now. And the Giants fans are living on that high. And the Giants coaches and leadership are giving the Giants fans that high. And they're saying, you know what? Jackson Dart may not be our starter for the year, but you're going to see him. And they don't say that, but they know. Everybody knows, right? They keep hyping him and putting him in good situations. And they're doing the thing that they have to do to say, we're not going to start him, but you're going to see him. And all of that hype that you guys have going, it's going to be worth it because it's going to come to effect. Why aren't the Browns doing this, man? Nobody has hype over Gabriel. 0 people have hype over Gabriel. I don't know that I see one Gabriel jersey in the stands, right? There might be more. I don't know. I don't see him. I see tons of 12s, right? The Browns fans want Shedeur. They had Shedeur coming into the game, first preseason game of the year, played his heart out, looked awesome with the first team, and or I should say parts of the first team, right? If they had the entire first team, probably would have looked even better, right? Why not do the same thing and hype that up? Why not do that? Follow the Giants, what the Giants are doing this year with Jackson Dart. And it's already, the Browns are already getting more notoriety than they've gotten in, I don't know, decades. Imagine if they just rode that Shedeur train the same way that the Giants are riding Jackson Dart and really ton it, right? Really ton it, really get everybody on the same page. All right, that's it. I'm out. Thank you very much for subscribing. We'll see you in the next video.